It's a rare condition this day and age to demand a freak off with so much rage. The strangest addiction that you'll ever find. Some people say that he's losing his mind. Well, then there must be some magic juice inside the Punisher. 'Cause all I see is a chocolate thing. Man, milk busting over everything. Days gone by, it's the biggest break of the century.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. Link is down in the description box below if you like to follow along with today's commentary slop. You ready? I know you're ready. I'm ready. Who's ready? We're ready. Together, we're both ready. Chris Jericho is currently on hiatus from AEW and ROH, but still representing Tony Khan's companies as a face of both brands. Shotzi Blackheart is interested in joining AEW after her recent WWE departure, but past behavior is coming back to haunt her. AEW presented its inaugural signature hardcore match on May 5th, 2021. The Blood and Guts edition of Dynamite featured the first ever match of the same name, and the only way to win was by surrender or submission. Just before the 34-minute mark, the Pinnacle defeated the Inner Circle after Sammy Guevara surrendered on behalf of his leader after MJF threatened to toss Jericho from the top of the cage, which he did anyways. Blood and Guts was criticized as the broadcast clearly revealed how Jericho landed on crash pads and boxes made to look like a steel platform. Shotzi immediately took to X and seemingly mocked the AEW spot by sharing a gif of a woman falling onto a bed. Base. Jericho later took an apparent shot at Shotzi while discussing the match, and she later apologized, but now the story is once again relevant. Shotzi's 6-year tenure with WWE ended on May 3rd as her contract was not renewed. The former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion spoke with Ariel Helwani and said she's interested in joining AEW for a very few curious reasons. The ballsy badass is a trending topic this week as the wrestling world discusses her prior AEW comments. Despite later saying she meant no offense to Jericho while actually praising Blood and Guts, there's a general feeling among fans and analysts that Shotzi will likely have no chance at signing with Tony Khan due to the pull his inaugural AEW World Champion has. Jericho's response to the Blood and Guts criticisms are a few years old, but the comments are making the rounds on social media this week due to Shotzi's AEW interests. The wrestling legend later dismissed any backlash over the match and claimed his elbow injury was legit. The 35-year industry veteran recalled how terrifying the bump was, adding that the critics can really fuck their ass because it was dangerous. Okay, did he? He then made an apparent reference to Shotzi's gif. This is what Jericho said. People laugh at that sort of stuff, but there's no reason to because this is the real deal and it can happen at any time. Best of luck to anybody in our business and anybody that bags on somebody who's taking a chance and putting their bodies on the line can really fuck off. Especially people in the business. I could say some names. There's a couple of chicks in WWE who says some stuff and they should probably not have said that. They probably weren't trained any better, and in 6 months they'll probably be asking us for a job anyways, and I'll remember that. So we'll leave it at that, Jericho said. Bruh. Okay. This tweet from some nobody named Alex McCarthy was plugged about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and he said, "A wonderful chat with Shotzi and Tegan Knox where we talked about the SmackDown call-up and blah blah blah. Shotzi explains how she was upset, or she was just joking with Chris Jericho and that she meant no offense by the gif." And she did put out another tweet that I can't remember off the top of my head, but she was pretty much telling Jericho to lighten the fuck up. It's not that big of a deal, bro. Like, really, it's not that big of a deal. All right, you took a terrible fucking bump on something that probably shouldn't have been done if it was going to expose the business in the way of how it exposed the business. And here's the thing, as you guys may know, I'm a connoisseur when it comes to fanboying over Chris Jericho. I consider myself a bit of a Jerichoholic in my own right. I know, cringe, no diddy. And I do not care at all for Shotzi Blackheart. I do not care for her crappy wrestling. I do not care as far as her sexual appeal because she does not turn me on at all. And I damn sure don't care about her SJW ways of actually approaching any subject matter whenever she actually has to talk about it. I give two shits about Shotzi Blackheart. Not a single fuck given about her. With that being said, what are we doing here again? Can someone help me understand what the fuck are we doing here? Like, why, what, huh? So, let me get this straight. Shotzi Blackheart gets fired from her job, right? She wants to wrestle for AEW because all her friends are there and because it's the second biggest wrestling promotion currently going on right now where she can make good money. And you guys are suggesting because she made fun of Chris Jericho. Mind you, Jericho has said nothing yet. And quite frankly, I highly doubt that Jericho, even though he sounded super fucking petty at that time, do I really believe Jericho would actually take food off of someone's table because they made a joke about some shitty wrestling spot he did 4 years ago? Maybe. But no, like, I haven't heard anything from Jericho yet to actually say that that's the case. But coming from the AEW fanboys, Mr. and Mrs. We should probably stop picking on the people who are released from WWE. Which I agree with, by the way. But, like, weren't you people? I guarantee you can find some tweets from people. As a matter of fact, I'll do you one better. Give me a second. Let me pull up a tweet really quick just to show you the vice versa effect of this. Hang on for a second. Perfect. Okay, I found one already. It wasn't really that hard. This is the douchebag, right? That was in the chat rooms talking shit about the wrestlers, yet he virtue signals about the wrestlers all the fucking time. Like, this is the guy, right? Abai of Wrestling Purists, whatever the fuck his name is. He put out a tweet about 4 years ago, around that same time, where after Shotzi made the GIF, right? He put out a tweet. He said, "Unnecessary and not classy at all, Shotzi. You have to take crazy bumps to get over and get to Jericho's platform and level. He does not. He put the work in for 30 years. You want him to kill himself?" It's a production and camera issue more than a bump issue, which he's not necessarily wrong, but the problem with that is that he just said something that completely contradicts himself. This is what he said not even yesterday. Listen, if you don't want Shotzi in AEW, that's fine. But if your primary reason is because she made fun of Chris Jericho falling off a cage onto a mattress 4 years ago, you're a huge loser with an L on your forehead. You're a loser. Loser. So you do understand, and this is the problem when it happens to deal with these people who virtue signal all the time. When you put out comments criticizing someone, you do understand that the wrestler who is offended is going to read posts like yours, take into consideration the superstar that is making the tweet that you're talking about. They're going to take that more into consideration because they're emotionally unstable, and you're pretty much helping their response as to how they would like to deal with that superstar. But then you come on later on and you suggest that comments like yours that most likely help influence Chris Jericho's perspective in regards to the situation as far as keeping Shotzi out of AEW, if that's the case, you do realize that you were the one to help cultivate that mindset for Jericho to want to, pursue. And then you come back and then you say, well, you guys are losers if you actually go out of your way to say that it's okay for Chris Jericho to not want her in AEW because of a fucking mistake that happened 4 years ago. Dude, you were one of the people that criticized Shotzi fucking doing that. And now you say, this is why it's hard to take the IWC seriously. This is why it's hard to take the IWC seriously, because it's comments like this. It's comments like this. This is the way they react. This right here. Now, once again, do I believe Chris Jericho at all has anything to do with whether or not Shotzi Blackheart would like to could join AEW? No. I joke, I kid. I said some stuff earlier about Jericho maybe. No, fuck that. Maybe. Not for real. No, for real. No, I don't think he would actually do something like that. Especially because it was like 4 years ago. And especially because Shotzi Blackheart apologized. And I'm pretty sure she reached out to Jericho personally behind the scenes. And they made up and kissy boo boo face and all that other kind of shit, right? Well, don't say boo boo around Shotzi. She might take that literally and take a picture of it and try to sell it to her fans. But I think the biggest contention comes into the gatekeeping from AEW fans once again. Because this is what they do. You know what I mean? The gatekeeping AEW fans, that's the things that they do. And look, it's not to suggest that WWE fans, as far as how they actually cultivate and actually respond to situations, they're not perfect at all. In fact, they could be just as bad, if not worse, in certain situations. But it seems like it's happening more prominently with the AEW fans as far as the gatekeeping is considered. You know, if they're not gatekeeping fans from watching their shows and having the outright leader, their cult leader, their boss, their senpai, Tony Khan, telling them to chill the fuck out and fall back, you stupid fucking losers, then it's them gatekeeping wrestlers from entering their fucking promotion. And here's the thing, it's not just the fans. Remember what Will Ospreay said a couple of weeks, right? Oi, mate! You know, let me not do a fucking British accent. I suck at British accents, okay? I fucking suck at them. You have people like Will Ospreay, essentially, for all intents and purposes, gatekeeping AEW also, right? He doesn't want you to come directly to AEW. He wants to see how much of a draw you are on the indies. He wants to see you go out there and make a splash on the indie scene before you just come right to AEW and think you can just put your feet up on the coffee table, sit back and say, hey, bitch, make me a goddamn sandwich. That's what Will Ospreay wants. Never mind your credentials prior to all of that in regards to what you brought to the table, in regards to WWE, in regards to drawing power. Never mind if you were already an indie darling prior to even joining WWE, and then you worked the indies for like a decade, you make it to WWE, you work there for about 4 or 5 years, then you get released. He still wants you to join the indies to see what you have, what it takes to join the AEW. You do understand this is what I'm talking about. It's that type of mentality. It's those type of reactions that come from your wrestlers and come from your fans that turn people off from wanting to watch AEW. It's that type of mindset. That type of gatekeeping retardation that keeps people from wanting to actually consume your product. And then when you fall on the ratings and then you turn around and then you say to yourself, what's the next excuse we can use, boss, to move the goalposts from this conversation right here? Because we can no longer say that Raw ratings are comparable to AEW ratings because you failed in that. You can no longer argue about, tickets. You fell in that. You can no longer talk about viewership. You fell in that. Goalposts getting moved left and fucking right all over the goddamn place to put AEW into a prominent position optically to look better in the face of the wrestling industry, when all you have to do, outside of the fact of getting the program better and, getting more entertaining, which you're doing a better job at nowadays, credit where credit is due, you need, I said this like maybe 2 videos ago too, you need to get away from your fans. Get away from these people. They are not consistent in their principles. They are not. I said it once. I said it twice. I've been saying it for half a decade, and I will continue to say it until I'm blue in the fucking face. They do not love AEW. They hate WWE. You get that, right? They don't love AEW. They hate WWE. Anybody could be in AEW's position as long as it's going up against WWE, the big old meanie conglomerate WWE, then all bets are off. And if you happen to work for that big conglomerate WWE, well, gosh darn it, you've just been infected with the mainstream syndrome. You are now diagnosed with mainstream cringe. Right, you work for the big boys. Ugh, we can't dare have you being infected by the McMahon disease coming to AEW and spreading your infection to everybody in this company. I mean, granted, it's not really an infection if you come from WWE to AEW. Some might even call it an anecdote. But, you know, that's the antidote based. Dumbass cringe logic language. My point being is, though, there is no reason at all for people like Shotzi Blackheart. I mean, seriously, do you see how she looks like? Do you see how she carries herself? Like, she is like the perfect person to be in the company like AEW. Like, perfect fit for everything. Probably should have went to AEW first. I don't know if did she ever try out for AEW to begin with? I feel like if she would have came 6 years ago, that would have meant she would have came around the time when AEW would start getting off the ground, right? At least she would have been in contract talks with WWE around the same time AEW was starting to come up, right? I don't know why maybe she just probably felt WWE was more established. I think that makes sense. But yeah, no. Fuck these fans. And if anybody tells you that you can't join a wrestling company because you made a joke about some dumbass spot that they shouldn't have done to begin with, especially considering they're a 35-year veteran, and at that point they were considered probably a 31-year veteran, that sounds like a them problem and not a you problem. And as far as the fans are considered, it's definitely a them problem and definitely not a you problem. And if Jericho actually goes out of his way to blackball you and make sure you didn't join the company, that probably be, I mean, not just inconsiderate. Take that out of the way, like ignore all that. It'd probably be considered one of the most diabolical, deceitful, manipulative. It probably might even add some credence to the whole Kylie Ray shit also. You know, she would actually do that because it's like, okay, Jericho has that much power. Okay, so what really went down with Kylie Ray, right? Kylie Ray, is that her name? I think. Kylie Ray? Kaylee Ray? What? Dakota Kai Jr.? Whatever the fuck her name is. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm getting bored talking about this now. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below in regards to how you felt about the topic. And I'm going to get the fuck up out of here and do something more productive with my life. Like drinking. No, I'm not going to say that. My name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smart, and I'll be catching you fine folks later. A deuces and a P ice.